So in this lecture, I will be making you aware of two categories of units, namely absolute units and relative units. So they're quite extensive. There are many types of relative and absolute units. I will just make you briefly aware of the two main categories that exist. You can certainly look at the documentation and read the description of what each unit actually means. And for example, here, let me just read out: absolute units are fixed in relation to each other and are generally considered to be the same size across devices. So we've done this before. So for example, we looked at pixels before. Okay, centimeters, we have not touched upon millimeters, inches, but these are the ones that exist out there that you can certainly put to use. For example, here the width is 300 pixels. We've seen this a lot in previous lectures. So it will stay fixed at 300 pixels, and I'll give a short demonstration soon. And now relative units. So relative units are relative to another length value, like the parent element's font size or viewport dimensions. They are essential for creating responsive designs. So for example, if you have different screens and you always want an element to be 50% of the width of that screen, no matter how large the screen size is or what the device is, dimensions are, you can certainly use relative units. For example, if you want it to be 50%, it will always be 50% regardless of how large the screen size is, right? So just to give a demonstration of this, of course, these are the ones that you have to be aware of, and the ones that are very useful: rem, and percentage. We've already covered the percentage. So view width and view height can be very important. It's been very important in my practice, certainly. Now, let's just demonstrate this. So for example, here I have some semantic tags. I have a body, and then I have my header, my main, and my footer sections here. And let me just show some absolute units first. Let me just say the width here is 300 pixels, of course, 300 pixels. And let me just refresh. So it will always remain 300 pixels regardless of how big the screen is. So regardless of how big the screen is, always be at 300 pixels. And now what if I were to say width is a percentage of relative units? Say, let's just say 50%. And so it will be 50% of the containing element. So what is the containing element in this particular case is the body. So the body is the containing element or the parent element. So it will always be 50%. And what will happen if we expand the screen size here? Again, it will just expand to 50% of that screen size. So that's how that works. And an important relative unit is the view height. For example, here if I just go height and I was to make it 30 VH or 30 view height, so I think it's like 30% of the viewer height here. And our header now would be 30% of the viewer height. And if we made our main section approximately 60% of our view height, so 60 VH in the following way. So now it will only be 60% of our view height. And what if I made my footer 20% of our view height? Consequently, I just go 20%, so 20. So that's how that works. So even if the screen size were to change, this sort of relative sizing will remain the same. So it will be 20%, always 20%, regardless. 20% of whatever the view height is. As you can see, it's responding to be 20% of that view height, or for the footer rather, and all the others too are responding to their specified heights in the following way. So that's how relative and absolute positioning works. Again, if you want to look at all the different types of units that exist out there, you can always refer to the documentation. Thank you very much.